Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you, of course, by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. Sorry we missed yesterday's show. We were having some difficulties, technically speaking, in terms of that, so we weren't able to bring the show to you yesterday, so apologize for that. But today we do have a great show for you. We'll be covering the NFL owners' meetings that are going on right now, excuse me, as well as a couple other things, such as a top 5 list of NFL coaches that are currently in the league, as well as we're going to be talking some college football. Make sure you stick around for later in the show when I will be giving you my outlook for the LSU football season 2025. So I'm going to cover them a little bit, especially with their star quarterback returning and all that. So a lot of hype and everything around LSU, so we're going to talk about that. But before we start, I just would like to ask you guys that you like and follow the show as always. If you've got a question during the show, and we just always want to hear it, of course, and if you want to type in a super chat, like a question, comment, anything like that, we're definitely always welcoming of that. Your input is always a big part of what makes this show great, and we thrive on your energy and your insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. Now, if you want to make absolutely sure that your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat and send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We really rely on your support and your help to keep bringing you the sports content that you love, and we appreciate every bit of your support. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit that super chat button, and let's keep this show interactive and exciting. And if you prefer, you can also go to GSMCSports.net to tip, donate, and leave a question or a comment there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support. We're so thankful to have you guys as part of our community. So once again, that link is GSMCPodcast.net. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the first part of our show. We're going to be talking a little bit about the NFL owners' meetings that have been going down over the past few days. Just a few different news and things like that for the owners' meetings. A lot of rules were talked about, like the tush push to be one of them, as well as some changes with the kickoff. One of the changes, of course, was changing the kickoff to the 35-yard line on touchbacks instead of the 30-yard line. Now, I briefly mentioned some of this the other day when I was talking about different things that they were going to be covering and all that. And I didn't personally agree with the decision to try and ban this. I just don't think it's a great rule, because I feel like a lot of, across the league anyway, defenses are kind of, handcuffed a lot of the times for a lot of the different rule changes and things of that nature. And I feel like this is just essentially punishing a team for a touchback because you're setting them at the 35-yard line. And when you think about it, the illegal formation on the kickoff, or the legal procedure on the kickoff when the kick goes out of bounds, like on the sideline out of bounds before it goes to the end zone, that's a penalty. And that is typically you get the ball, the opponent gets the ball at about the 40-yard line whenever that penalty is called. So you're essentially making a touchback a penalty in that case. And they want to say safety, and they also want to say they, want to see more kickoffs. And, it's just kind of a double standard, really, because the kickoffs are like some of the more dangerous plays in all of football because of all the high speed that all these players are traveling at. So, it's kind of interesting that they say safety is one of the reasons why I just don't really buy that. I personally think what they should do, and what they probably never will do, unless something major happens, is they should just completely do away with the kickoff altogether. Just give the ball on the 25-yard line, for each team. That's just kind of what I think. But they went ahead and they approved it. So 35-yard line on touchbacks on kickoffs, that was passed. Another rule that was passed that to be honest, I don't really know why it took so long to pass a rule like this. I don't know why it wasn't already in the league, but they were having discussions over the overtime rule being implemented in regular season. That's the playoff rule, which, if you're not familiar with, it's in the playoffs, each team has a chance to get the ball, even if the other team scores a touchdown. Whereas normally in the regular season, if the opponent or if the first team that gets the ball scores a touchdown, game's over. Now, if they get a field goal, the other team has a chance to possess the ball. But with this rule, they would basically make it just like the playoffs, where everybody gets a chance to touch the ball even after a touchdown on the opening drive, which I like that rule because I feel like that should be the case anyway. And the other tweak to that rule is it's going to be a 10-minute quarter on the overtime quarter. So, that's one little addition to it, but, that's not really a big deal in my opinion. I mean, normally they'd be 15-minute quarters, just like all the other quarters in the NFL, but, 10 minutes, I think that's, good enough, and who knows, maybe we'll get more of an increase in ties, which that'll lead to a whole other conversation, I'm sure, but, which could lead to more changes in the overtime rules. I kind of like what college does. They give you the ball at the 25-yard line, and you basically have, 4 chances or so to get into the end zone or kick a field goal, and you just keep going back and forth like that. Sure, games could, end up being, longer than normal, but you could also say the same thing about baseball. Baseball games could, really go on for days, if you think about it. That's kind of the same with any sport that, has ties or, has overtimes without ties. There's a possibility that the games can go longer. So it's not really, much of a change in my opinion, but, either way, that's one of the things that was passed as well. Another thing that was passed was the expansion of replay on plays where a flag is thrown. So they'll have a replay assist essentially, because they have replay assist already in the NFL in terms of, spotting the ball, things of that nature. They can get replay assist, like the officials on the field can get assist from replays from the people in New York and all that. So this would basically be that, only with, any play that a flag is thrown. So then you can actually have replay assist come down to help the refs out to potentially, ease up on some of the controversial calls. But one thing that I just think is, a little interesting is, like, if they can do that for plays where a flag is thrown, why can't they get replay assist for flags that are not called? Like, for example, the Sam Darnold very famous face mask from last year, where he very obviously got his head grabbed and turned by the face mask right in front of the referee. And even the defensive player who, made the penalty, he knew that he messed up, because you could see his reaction that he knew that a penalty was about to be called, but no flag was ever thrown. So if you can have replay assist, go back and look at a play and determine if the play that the flag was thrown on can be, overturned. Why can't you do that for plays, that don't have, that kind of, or that don't have a flag? You can go to replay assist and, see from there. But I guess they're just trying not to complicate the game more than it is, or take up too much time with refs getting involved. But, I'd rather refs get involved and get the calls right than have so many, bad calls or controversial calls that we always have to talk about during every NFL season. So, it is what it is. But that was one of the rules that was passed during this NFL owners meetings. The tush-push ban, that was gaining a little bit of steam, but that has actually been tabled to a later date. I've heard possibly May, but we'll have to see what they decide to do. But as of right now, it's still not banned, and I don't think they should ban it. But, we'll see, in a few months or, whatever the case, whenever they decide to reopen the discussions in terms of this. But, that's basically what's going on with that. There's not really been much, movement in that. 18-game season is also one of the things that's going to be discussed. Nothing really definitive has come out yet in terms of that. There hasn't really been any news on that front, but that's the other thing that I find kind of interesting, that they are preaching safety with the kickoff rule and all of that, but they want to add more games to the regular season. So, it's just one of those things that's just kind of interesting and, kind of hypocritical in a way, because you say you want to be, safe and, protect the players and all that, but why are you adding more games, or why are you having teams play 3 games in 11 days, or something like that? That's, everybody knows it's because of money, and that's what the NFL revolves around. So it is what it is. We just got to deal with it. But some other things that were happening, the playoff seeding that the Detroit Lions pushed forward to try and get overturned was basically saying that no matter what your, whether you win a division or not, it's depending on the best record. That's what the seeding will be. Like, the best record, of course, will be the top seed. The second best record will be the second seed, and so on and so forth, which, I do agree with to an extent, because I can kind of understand the other side of that argument in terms of, you want to be rewarded for winning your division. And this change would sort of take that away a little bit. Yeah, you would still be credited with winning your division. You're a division champion. You'll get all the hats and shirts and all that stuff. But, ultimately you try and win your division so that you can have a home playoff game, so that it'll make a more manageable path to a Super Bowl. That's what the ultimate goal is. And this would kind of take that away a little bit. So I could kind of see the pushback on that a little bit. But, I also do get it, because you do get those instances where, you have a team that's like 8-8, or, I guess now 8-9, or, 7-10, or 9-8, something like that. And they get to host a team that has, say, like 14 wins or something, because that team won the division and the 14-win team became second in their division, like what happened last year with the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions, being 1-2 in that division, and then Minnesota still having to go on the road in the playoffs, and because they didn't win the division. So, that was just another rule that was talked about. There's nothing really been said about that right now. It's been tabled, so they're going to talk about that at a later date. I think that could potentially gain some steam, because that's a big type of rule change right there that would change the whole landscape of how the playoffs are, worked out. So I could see them doing something, talking about that further, but who knows? Maybe they'll change it, and, we'll have a whole other conversation that we can talk about. But so those are the basic, the main things that are going on in the NFL owners meetings. There's, of course, talking to different GMs and head coaches and stuff like that are all there. That's other things that are happening, but, there's separate, stories within those that we can talk about. But that's basically it for what I've got for these owners meetings so far. So when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers and the comments made from Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan, as well as Art Rooney, during the NFL owners meetings, and talk a little bit more about some of the updates that have come out since we last spoke about that. So just stick with us, and we're going to be right back right after this break, and we're going to dive into that.